Welcome to Burlington and Beyond. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're glad you could make it. We have a great show planned tonight. On my left, my name is Paul Gerard, and on my left is Pat Marino. And next to Pat is Adam Sinesi. We have a special guest tonight, Clare Donegan, who is joining us, and she's an expert on smart meters. So we have a great show planned tonight. I think you'll find it very interesting and informative, and we hope you stick around for the show. First, we just want to discuss a little bit about town meeting last night. It was an interesting town meeting. The Mercedes dealership looks like they'll be going forward, so that was interesting. A lot of discussion there, and also the fingerprinting and the door-to-door canvassing, that was also passed. That the changes to the bylaws. So that's I don't know if you guys any comments on that, Pat?
Yeah, I just thought the ending, the soliciting issue, I thought was a little bit excessive. They're demanding specifically $25, and then there's a $5 fee and a $100 fee for anyone who wants to come in and walk the town to sell any kind of product, or pretty much any kind of product. And in addition, they have to be fingerprinted. So I'm not sure if all of that is. It just smacked a little bit of just asking a little bit too much of the people come in. I know we want to be protected, but I just thought that it was a little bit above and beyond. And it was long. They and from what I understand, I was outside at the time, but I understand the vote was pretty conclusive too.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that vote, but the vote on the Mercedes dealership was definitely overwhelmingly in favor. Pretty much, that was
two-thirds vote. Yeah, a very nice presentation by the people from the Mercedes dealership.
That's very good.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting the issue of soliciting, because I think in part it can touch upon, or it does touch upon, what we want to talk about, our main issue with Clare, and that is, for me, the issue of privacy. In some ways, I just don't think that all of that is warranted, and I think that we're going to find out. Well, I'll let you talk and tell us about smart meters.
Okay, before we get started on smart meters, I just want to mention our Facebook page. If you could check us our Facebook page and give us a like. It's facebook.com/Burlington and Beyond. And the other thing I wanted to mention was one of our usual panelists, Larry Way, is not here tonight. He has another meeting he has to attend, but he's decided to run for school committee. So congratulations to Larry, and we wish him all the best. So with that being said, we'd like to get into talking about smart meters. And I guess if it's smart, it sounds like it ought to be good, right? We've got smart growth, we've got smartphones and smart cars. So, Claire, what's wrong with smart meters?
Well, firstly, smart meters is a brilliantly derived name for what these are. They are not meters. They do actually do what meters do, which is measure, but they go far beyond what a meter does, measuring. A smart meter, it's not a technical term, so you can't call your electricity company and say, I don't want smart meters. The line of demarcation is what we call a smart meter, both transmits data and receives and implements instructions. That's the line.
Yeah.
And they also have this remote shut-off. A lot of meters that are out there already transmit data. The meter reader doesn't generally come up to the house and read them anymore. So the term smart is a little bit ambiguous, but the two-way communication is the key with that.
That's interesting. So what can they do? What can the meters do? Obviously, they can monitor your usage. That's just the start of it, right?
That's just the start. So they measure what the electricity that you're using in tiny increments. So in Worcester, where the pilot program is happening, the main pilot program for Massachusetts is happening, the meters that are installed in Worcester can measure, National Grid says they take 15-minute incremental, that's the aggregate. So every 15 minutes, it'll say X kilowatts, this 15 minutes. But the meters themselves can be programmed at will down to 5-minute increments. And that's a lot of information. So how often is your house empty? Is your house empty from 8:15 to about 5:30 every day? Do you go on vacation the second week of July every year? Who knows that? Do you have your neighbors take in your mail because you don't want everybody knowing that you're not here? Who's going to have access to that information? What type of appliances do you have? Who gets privy to the information that's coming from your home? Who owns that information? How can that be monetized? That's worth big money. Do you use a microwave or do you cook? Do you use your oven? Is your refrigerator efficient? Do you have the illegal incandescent light bulbs? Do you possibly plug in that extra fridge because you're having a house full of people? That extra fridge that the government is already calling around to make that extra fridge. I will predict that extra fridge will be illegal one day. And if you dare to plug that in, what's going to happen to you?
Well, you'll pay a surcharge or a
Something,
heavy tax.
I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but this is giving the government a portal into our home, and our inviolable home.
Are there any restrictions on what they can do with that information? It's gathered. I mean, there are no specific laws that say they have to stay with the company. And do they send out? You know how they companies will often tell you about what they do with your information. Banks, for example. Is there any such thing? No. Well,
not in Massachusetts. I mean, these meters are already in a number of communities and this pilot program in Worcester. But no, that those laws would catch up at some point. The question is, the people whose these meters are on their house already, who's getting that data? There's no laws, and we're not going to know what they're collecting. That's the key,
Right.
And it's not voluntary.
Yeah.
So I kind of have an alias on my Facebook. I kind of I don't see what I'm a very law-abiding citizen, but it's none of their business, and I don't want these layers of information on me.
Yeah.
Because one day I might do something that the government doesn't like, and then they would have all these things, all this information on me. So that's all moot now since I got into this, because I'm everywhere on the internet now. But the key is, where is the line? And for me, the line is my home. I can choose to have a cell or not. I have my phone. I can still turn all the way off and take my battery off. I mean, I don't, but I could. I don't have the Xbox kinds of things. And these meters are not voluntary. They are. They're going to be imposed on us if we allow it to happen.
Who owns the meter on the side of our homes?
So the meter is attached. They call it a base, a meter base. It has a technical name. You own the base, and the electric company owns the meter.
Okay. Now beyond that, so the electric company is the immediate group or entity that has access to the information that leaves your home. So the usage on now, where does the government come into it? How do they?
Well, for example, this is a global initiative. About between 40 and 50 million of these meters have been deployed in the United States since about 2009. In California last year, 2012, I keep forgetting, San Diego Electric Company turned over 3,807 people's usage data. Now, that's not your name and address. I mean, police have been using utility name and address issues for probably since they exist. But this is your usage data. This is when you get home, when you leave, and have turned over 3,807 people's usage data to 10 different agencies.
Wow.
All without warrants and 74% without subpoenas.
Now, were they government agencies, or did they sell it to
Government
private?
agencies.
No, okay.
Yeah, we're not going to know.
Oh,
that
I know.
We're not,
You
you know
don't
what?
know.
We're just not going to know. We're not going to know what they're collecting, and we're not going to
Exactly.
know
Yeah.
what they're selling,
Yeah.
or who's seeing it. We just aren't going to know. And
They're building profiles. They're building profiles of people within their own home. I imagine they could use that information for products that they want to buy. I mean, there's so much that you can find out from all of that.
we don't
Yeah.
know what they're doing.
I just don't like the idea of them. It's spying.
Have they provided any explanation as to why the 3,800
Energy.
individuals or families and homes, why their information has been turned over? Has the government provided any justification?
Nothing I found. I mean, it was a court order that the DPU turn over that the utility turn over that information. I mean, I just had the document and did the arithmetic. Yeah, it's up till now. You know, our home is our castle. Our home is our
Exactly.
refuge. Our home is inviolable. This changes that paradigm.
Yes.
And for, in other parts of the country, in Texas, one woman drove the smart meter installer off her property with a firearm. In Illinois, 2 moms got arrested. They said, no, you're not putting one of those darn things on our home. They ended up in jail. And, I don't think that's going to happen here in Massachusetts because these utilities and the DPUs, because they are in bed together, they are not individual entities. They are a team. They have learned about the pushback and whatever. So they have this paper tiger opt-out. Well, if you don't want a meter, you can opt out. And you can pay an incredible amount of money initially, monthly, and then finally, in order for the privilege of us not being able to peer into your home and irradiate your home, and you can pay these fees, and but that opt-out can be withdrawn at any time. Those fees can double, triple, whatever, any time. The 100% assimilation is the goal,
So
and
to
that
make it-
opt-out
right.
is
So they make it difficult not to accept them, and make it
Make
it expensive
impossible,
to
right?
not to accept what they're offering.
Yeah. They're
And
just adding fees to, if you decide you don't want it, they're just going to add fees and probably continue with them.
right. And
I mean,
if
you
you're
really
paying,
don't-
right, you
What
pay an
about-
extra $30 whatever it is dollars a month not to have a smart meter. Well, then one day you decide, oh, well, do I want to continue this, or do I want, to go to Hawaii, or do I want to, buy a new car, or whatever. Eventually you're not going to be able to, you may not want to rationalize those fees.
what about the cost of these programs? I mean, the cost of the meter itself, aren't they ridiculously expensive?
Well, the Worcester pilot program, which is a national grid, we're focused in Worcester, my group, haltmasmartmeters.org. We're focused in Worcester because that is where the flagship pilot program is happening. It's 15,000 meters, smart meters. It's 242 WiMAX antennas and 12 or 13 cell-like towers around, and for a cost of an admitted $48 million. I know it's more than that because there's, for example, they did a lot of work before the pilot was even approved, and the manufacturer provided the meters, which I found interesting. So that cost is about, we'll call it $50 million. For 15,000 smart meters, that's about $3,000 per meter. Now, granted, that's not, each meter doesn't cost $3,000. There's a lot of
That's what the
infrastructure
project
involved.
cost, right?
But it's about $3,000 plus dollars
Per meter.
Can you describe what it looks like, one of these meters, or any significant feature that anyone
I'm
would
sure
recognize
people would love to
right
know how
away?
they can determine if they have a smart meter or
Right?
not.
So I don't think they're in Burlington. I'm 99.9% sure that they're not in Burlington. But the only way to absolutely tell is every meter that is broadcasting, is transmitting, has an FCC ID on it. For FCC is Federal Communications Commission, because everything with an antenna
Right.
needs to be approved by the FCC. And the FCC ID will probably say AMI, which means Advanced Metering Initiative. And if you have a question, you can feel free to email me at haltmasmartmeters@gmail, and I'll look for you. But that FCC ID is key, and you can actually, if you're savvy, you can go on the FCC website, and you say FCC lookup, and you can put in the FCC ID and look at the a lot of documents that are specific to your meter.
I completely agree with you that it is an invasion. The home is, it's our castle. It's, I mean, what else do we have? And if we allow them to find a way to intrude, it's a slippery slope. It'll go beyond that. It'll go well beyond that. Are there any, I understand that there may be physical problems with the meters also, or with the emission of...
Health problems associated with them?
Yeah, health problems.
Well, there's a number of fronts that people are fighting these on, and health is one of them. This is not my particular area of research. I have a kind of a compadre who focuses on health, but so the privacy and the money and the security issue, which is kind of related with the privacy, is what brought me in. But what I learned is there's a whole subset of people who are affected by these wireless communications, and they don't have cell phones. They would never have Wi-Fi in their house. They actually search for homes by where there are cell antennas, and I got to tell you, I never thought twice about it. You know, I wouldn't want a cell antenna in my backyard. You know, but you know, I just poo-pooed it, I got to say, and I no longer do. My router, I still have Wi-Fi, but I have a stainless steel bowl over my router, and you know, I still have my cell, but it never touches my head. The World Health Organization declared microwaves like cell phones, Wi-Fi, baby monitors, cordless phones that aren't cell at your home.
Oh, yeah.
They declared that a Class 2B possible human carcinogen in 2011, and because of some special kind of brain tumor, I forget, some glioma something. It's not my area, but there's this whole group of people, and generally their health is undermined in some way already, and compromised. And it seems that these microwaves that, like what the smart meter emits, compromises whatever it is further. And I didn't believe it, but I got to tell you, I believe it absolutely now. And like, I think it's in moderation.
Yeah.
And these meters would create 3 whole new separate networks. One in your home, talking to all your appliances. That's at the 2.4 gigahertz. That's like a Wi-Fi. One outside your home that talks. So each meter, they call it a mesh network. So it's not like your meter talks to the tower. No, your meter talks to all the other meters around, and then your next door neighbor talks to all the other meters around, and that information all gets funneled toward one repeater, they call it, on somebody's lucky house. It's camouflage, and that person does not know that their meter is special, and then that, they call it a cell relay repeater, and then that goes up to the tower, back to the utility, and that goes back and forth. So that's the second network, and then the third network is the cell tower-like data network. So this is 3 whole new networks just for your electric.
Does this smack of Big Brother or what?
I would say so.
It does. It does. It's another invasion. Forget about the fact that it's unhealthy. It's another invasion. I mean, it just continues. It goes on and on. Everywhere you look, the government they just look for ways, and this is all done in the name of saving energy. And yet, I'm sure that there are other ways that could be just as effective, that
more.
do not require people, you know, literally listening in to what's going on in our homes. These actually tally what every appliance is doing when they're used.
It would have to be a modern appliance that is capable of
Right,
transmitting.
chipped appliances,
Yeah.
smart appliances, but that's, like, already refrigerators and freezers, according to the EPA this year, must be smart. And that's going to happen over, you will not be able to buy an appliance that will not talk to your meter. And will it go down to the coffee maker and your blow dryer? I can't answer that, I don't know. I'm betting yeah, but I don't know. But eventually you won't be able to buy a meter that's not talking, and you won't be able to disable that chip because you're not going to want to, by then refrigerators are going to be $5,000, and you're not going to want to compromise the warranty. So your refrigerator, and even if you don't have a smart meter, your refrigerator will talk to something that isn't there.
Yeah.
And, would that signal then be able to be picked up by something else? Hard saying.
What do we do?
We're gonna say
Well, my question was, and I'm asking this more for our audience, but we've alluded to the fact that this is done to supposedly save energy. How will it save energy? How will it change our usage of energy?
So the goal is, it's called time of use pricing. So they could collect in these increments, 5 to 15 minute, 5 to 15 minute increments, and then they'll charge different prices at different times of day. So, and granted, the electricity that, say, National Grid or NSTAR buys at 3 in the morning is a lot cheaper than the electricity they'll buy at peak. They have to have X number of power stations generating power all the time, and then as more electricity is used, as the peak grows, they have to bring more power stations online. So it gets more expensive for them. So they want to pass that charge on to us. So they have to know when we're using electricity in order to do that. And they call it time of use pricing. And so in the 2 pilots that I know, well, there's been 3 pilots in Massachusetts, but the 2 pilots, they charge between 1.5 and twice the base rate from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. weekdays. And then on the hottest summer days, they charge 11 or 12 times the base rate.
Wow.
And that's to help educate you to do your laundry overnight, turn your dishwasher on overnight, and turn your air conditioner and everything else off when the system is taxed.
Right.
And
Peak hours.
So during the day, when an elderly person might really need air conditioning, they're going to pay through the nose for it?
I was talking to a reporter today, and I'm sitting next to a friend of mine, and her mother is 91, I think. And this summer, my friend walked into her mother's home, and her mother's like delirious. And my friend's putting cool cloths on her, and I'm going to turn the air conditioning on. No, don't turn it on. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. So she's sitting there, ready to die from it was really hot this summer, and my daughter got married the day it was 103, and she wouldn't turn it on now. I mean, what are the unintended consequences of 11 or 12 times the base rate? And I have to say, I don't use air conditioning. I don't like it. I was married to an HVAC guy. I don't have air conditioning. It makes me sneeze. So, but I'll fight to the death for my huge brother-in-law, very tall, very big man, who's hot when it's 60, to have air conditioning.
Sure.
And the government or the utility is going to tell me, who am cold when it's 70, and him, who's hot when it's 60, that we have to have our thermostat at such and such a degree. There's something wrong with the mindset. There's something wrong. What is going on?
So to clarify, the people in Massachusetts already participate in the pilot program, regardless of whether they're using the same utility provider as I currently am. They're being billed in a different fashion already at this point than...
That's a little bit complicated. The pilot program in Worcester is 15,000 meters, and it hasn't actually begun yet because there has been backlash over the towers. So that was supposed to start January 1st and has not begun yet. And the towers look like they're going to be put off until May, so we don't know what the story is with that. But built into the pilot is a price guarantee. So there's no risk for the participants money-wise, and it's a behavioral modification pilot test, guinea pig type deal, except that the people have this guarantee on the other end. So yeah, it doesn't make sense, but there will be because municipal electric companies are deploying as well as the big ones, and so there will be different prices for different people. And there's also so we call that the time of use. When I was talking about the different rate structures, they have also this thing called rebate, peak time rebate. And I went to a Department of Public Utilities seminar type thing, and one of the officials said peak time rebates are the gateway drug to time of use pricing. That was the head of our DPU. And actually it was the head of the Maryland DPU, I think. And so the goal is behavior modification.
Reduce
And some of the goals aren't
consumption.
bad goals. I'm sorry.
Reduce consumption and change people's lifestyle habits and how they consume
Right.
energy. And
Which are not bad goals.
But
I mean,
it's-
Massachusetts is the number one energy efficiency state in the country and has been for a number of years. I mean, sometimes I have a light bulb on, sometimes I don't.
But that's your choice, not some utilities or the government's.
It's my choice for a number of reasons. It's the right thing to do, and I want to save money. You know, yeah, bad. But some of the goals. The problem is some of the goals and some of the benefits are not bad. You know, I'd be happy to put my dishwasher on so it turned on overnight. You know, there is already a 4-hour delay that could be tweaked so that you say, you know, after midnight. You know, and everything has a clock in it, for heaven's sake. There's a lot of things that could be done to accomplish what they're trying to do with these meters that would not violate our privacy,
Yeah.
our security,
Right.
our health,
Yep.
our wallet.
Yes.
There's a lot of things, but these meters, our DPU has put out a docket 1276 that is precursor to mandating these meters across the state. Governor Patrick just announced $40 million that will help accelerate this mandate and accelerate smart metering. And it's very frustrating, but we have the power, we have the knowledge to
Find a
stop
better
this.
way
Find better ways, right?
and still be protected,
Right.
as opposed to selling out our privacy. Really, it's I don't know. It sounds like it's almost impossible unless people are made aware. Enough people are made aware of this to stand up and speak against it. I don't see any other way. I mean, I would assume they're just going to go ahead. They don't really care.
Unless enough people rise up and stop it.
And it's happening. It's happening. I mean, this is a lot of information to take in. It's an extraordinary. This is not there's no billboard for this. This is an extraordinary amount of information. There's a number of layers, and encourage you, Google it. Smart meters, Massachusetts, smart meter fires. Something we haven't even touched on. There's a lot of things to find out. But in Worcester, people are becoming aware. It's in the paper 3 times a week in Worcester. I started this a year ago in earnest in Worcester in the spring. Nobody knew what I was talking about. Now everybody has at least heard about it, and a lot of people have investigated it. There's a woman or a group in the town of Sheffield who is circulating a petition for her town meeting in May to have the town declare a moratorium that there'll be no smart meters in the town of Sheffield. And that's happened all over the country. Sedona, Arizona just did it recently. There are things that we can do. There's a lot of things that we can do. We have the advantage over the rest of the country where, not the rest of the country, but the country that's already deployed.
Yeah.
It all happened. Their millions and billions were spent before they knew what was happening, and there was no going back. We have the advantage. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. We can stand up and say, this is not going to happen here. At least hold on. This is going way too fast. There's no reason to go from A to Z in 6 months, or, you know, in such a short period of time. Let's go from A to B, take a
Sure.
look, see how it's doing, and then
Yep.
go to B to C.
Yep.
And not have some hidden agenda where the train is going too fast and there's no going back. And there are things that we can do, and one of them is learning, and the other is one of the other ones is dealing with your town and saying, helping your town officials know what's going on, and bringing in your like public works, people, your
Right.
commission, and saying you need to figure out what's going on. Let me give you these materials. Call me if there's any questions. You know, we have these resources for you, and you need to know because we have the power now to stop it. And in some period of time that is not very far away, that power is going to be gone.
I wonder if anyone has ever introduced this into a town meeting discussion. I mean, you know, as you indicated earlier when we were talking, some people not being aware of what's going on just brush it off. You know, it's a meter, they want to save money, and you know, it's just so easy. Yeah, it's saleable. You know, and I don't know how you get. You say bring in the Department of Public Works, or the not the Public Works, but the who would handle that? Maybe it is the Public Works, just to make it available, to make people realize exactly what the choices are. We have to investigate that a little bit. Have you ever heard of that? Do they bring it to, outside of private groups, would they bring it to a public forum?
Town meeting you just mentioned, right?
Well, I've never lived in a town. I've always lived in cities, and I'm dealing right now. I know more about Worcester politics than I've never known about any politics in my life. And I've been in front of a number of committees in Worcester and in front of their city council. They love me, and but I don't really know about. I tried to get in front of one town. The town of Braintree has deployed their municipal, and they wouldn't let me speak. I gave them some materials, and that was that. And the problem with the learning curve is my local paper, the Patriot Ledger, did an over-the-fold, full-page article on the evils of smart metering. Well, nobody knew what they were reading. It landed like a Led Zeppelin because you read the first paragraph and you what? And you flip to the funnies. And the key is this is a huge issue, and we have to learn what's going on, and we have to take our officials on that journey with us.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we've got at least 10,000 people watching us tonight, so we'll make them aware of it.
Hopefully.
I don't know. I can't. I would. It'd be interesting to find a way to bring this up to the when they get to the point where, and of course, actually, officially, it already is mandatory. You just said that Governor Patrick, $40 million.
Right. It's not mandatory yet. The DPU has put out. So the final roadmap report for this has already been submitted in July. The final roadmap report, the pilot program, the flagship pilot has not even begun, yet the final roadmap report.
From
Welcome to the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
That happened in July, and then that has spurred this docket, the DPU docket 1276, which is supposedly looking into the grid modernization. And there's a lot of monikers for this, and grid modernization, and they seldom use the term smart meters because that has been, we know about that.
Yeah.
So now it's demand response. There's a lot of other terms for it, and in the Governor Patrick's $40/52 million, it's called demand response something systems or demand response solutions. It is. So it's not mandatory yet, but the ball is rolling for that, and people are putting in their comments. I've put in to be on a panel, but they can decide whether to let me or not. And this is where we are.
Who should be protecting us at the government level?
Well, our Attorney General, and our Attorney General has tried. She said, for example, the pilot program in Worcester was too large and too expensive. She said the security problems with that remote shutoff, that no meter should be installed in Massachusetts with that remote shutoff, because if somebody sitting in the main office can push that button, if they can hack into Target, they're going to be able to hack into that button, and if somebody can shut down one street, one region, one town, inside 128, inside 495.
A nursing home.
Could wreak havoc.
Havoc. I mean, it stops us in our tracks. Look, look what happens.
Yeah.
It's bad news. So the Attorney General is our advocate. So she had issues. Oh, and the cost. She had issues on cost, privacy, and security, and it happened anyway. And why then I don't understand. She's our advocate. So the governor is hugely in favor of this. The DPU is hugely in favor of this. It's a huge moneymaker for the utilities. There are tens of thousands of people on this gravy train from manufacturers, labor, not necessarily unions, that's not what I mean, but
Installers.
Although the unions are not all behind this, there's definitely some union pushback here. But
And what would that pushback be in regards to?
well, I don't know exactly. It's for example, going from the meter that is on probably in Worcester, in Burlington right now, where they drive a truck around and collect the data. Well, that job will be gone. There'll be a temporary job of installing the new meter and taking off the old meter, but that permanent job will be gone. And there's a lot of issues like that, where a lot of things are just going to go
Become
away.
automated. So,
Right,
yeah.
right. And I think that's part of it.
That makes
I think there's
sense.
other facets to it too.
I'm sure there are. Now, this project in Worcester, where did the funding come from that?
It's all ratepayer. There were tax dollars, and this 40/52 million of Governor Patrick's unveiling is kind of tax dollars, but all this money is going to be recouped by the utility will spend it, and then they'll just get it back on our bill.
Yeah.
And there's also that same docket in. It's actually hard to believe
It's a
some of it. I can't
closed-
actually believe that I'm saying some of these things that I'm saying. So this 1276, it's called, this docket. One of the provisions in it is that the utility should actually be guaranteed that they're going to get this money back, so that they don't have to. It will accelerate spending, and there won't be any risk for them, because we'll pay for it anyway. That's the bottom line. This is not, the free market is gone. Doing the best for your customer is gone. Spend that money regardless of whatever.
Taxpayers are going to pay for it.
Well, yeah, it's not technically taxes, but it is our money.
the users.
The consumer.
Consumers, yeah.
Well, raise your hand if your pockets are bottomless. There you go. It's bad news. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I'm reading that.
Crony capitalism at its
It's
finest.
something. And there's a whole thing about regulatory capture. Where's the caboose and who's the engine? Is it we have the federal government, we have the EPA, we have Governor Patrick, we have the DPU, and then we have the utilities.
Who's in charge?
Where? Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Has any of the providers, NSTAR or National Grid rather, have they responded in any way? Have they said anything, or are they just?
well, they don't like me very much.
I wonder why.
But sure, I mean, they respond. But not direct. They will not speak directly with us or to us. They will do a show like this. Like, we begged them to do a show, or have. We were at a forum. Clark University held a discussion forum out there, and they remained completely silent. And they let one of the things that they do is they go in. there's a playbook. They have a
Yeah.
playbook because
Yeah.
they've learned.
Sure.
Companies have been doing this since 2009. So what they go into towns where they're going to deploy, and they choose. I think there's 7 colleges in Worcester. So they chose some people in Worcester at these schools, and they got grants, about $500,000 grants from the National Science Foundation. One is actually the name of his grant is something National Grid. And it's on recovery.com, on the stimulus website. And another one, the other $500,000 grant is for socio-political ramifications of grid modernization. $500,000. And so these people, they go in early. These people get all this money, and then they are the cheerleaders. They are the front men. So the utilities don't have to be their own front men.
They can just be quiet and
They-
not
that's
say
it,
anything.
and that's it. You can watch it happen. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And to have read the playbook and know,
Yeah.
and these are really smart people. These are PhDs and engineers and they're not being evil. They're not being stupid. They believe this. They believe this. This is for the greater good.
Right.
And it's part of their self-identification. And I am misguided. I just don't understand,
I can't believe that they just they think that their goals are so altruistic. They just and they can't see the other side of the coin. That's hard to believe.
Well, they don't think I
that's
can
what
see
they're
the other
saying.
side. But they don't think I can see the other side of the coin.
Well, there are two sides, and have they ever looked? I mean, when someone says my privacy, I mean, if they say, well, that doesn't matter, or there's no response, or they just don't care, or they just repeat the savings.
Right. Well, it's for the general response to that. I would say, in the aggregate, is it's a small price to pay.
Oh yeah,
It's a small price.
it's a slippery slope.
Small price
They
to
don't-
save 5% on your electric bill, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's. They don't. I don't want to speak in generalities, but a lot of these people, these proponents, do not understand the slippery slope. The slippery, and I think the 4 of us here all get the slippery slope. And another thing I wanted to bring up is this is not a liberal conservative issue. There's a lot of liberal, ultra liberal, and Democrats very much against this. And there's a lot of ultra conservatives and more centrist conservatives against it too. This is not a partisan issue.
That's good to hear.
So it is very good to hear. So
Yeah.
I often use the Kool-Aid term, and it's not the liberal Kool-Aid. It's the smart grid, smart meter Kool-Aid. It's the
So money,
orange.
actually money, much more than the environment, I think is really what it's all about. When these people who produce this, they just want to make money. I guess I can't imagine. I mean, they're certainly not looking out for the. I can't think of them looking out for the good of the people in general. They're doing what they think is best in order to make
Maximize profits.
some money.
Well, there's a whole theory that the whole smart grid initiative is actually one of the drivers of the economy not, going under at this point. That so much money has been pouring into this kind of behind the scenes. I mean, did you ever hear of it?
No.
Right. And but it's billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in the last few years, and and that it doesn't come from nowhere and it doesn't go to nowhere. It's circulating, and so there's a whole theory that's one of the things propping up the economy. I'm not an economist, so I can't, but I think that that's definitely a possibility,
It's believable.
right?
It's believable.
And the gravy train is very,
Yeah, as you said before, there are so many people who stand to make money. That's exactly
Right.
what I
it's hard
I
not to
think,
jump
yeah.
on. You know, you're going to watch it go by, or you're going to jump on.
Yeah. Mm. I don't know. I guess the only thing we can do is try to educate the people as best
Right,
we
what's-
can.
Can I borrow that book?
Absolutely.
So our website is haltmasmartmeters.org. We've worked very hard. We have this little booklet. And, sorry, not used to being on TV. And it's available on the website under Comprehensive Booklet. It has over 300 links in it. And if you print it out and read it little by little, it's a lot of information. It's not a sit down and read in a 10-minute book. If you read a couple pages at a time, they're available. We can send them. You can print them. And if you read this booklet, you're going to pretty much know 80% of what there is to know, and the other 20% is how to deal with it in your town.
So this will be the first step for people from Burlington to get educated on what's
It would
going
be
on.
a great step.
And from there, then it's maybe some sort of mention at town meeting or whatever, and maybe some
I would
tips.
love to see it discussed in a town meeting. I don't know how we get it there, but I mean, we hopefully will be members and we can find out. But maybe we can ask, we can inquire. It would be interesting because I'm sure it's an issue that is going to come up. I just noticed this Telecommunications Act of 1996. Is this still valid? No state or local government or instrumentality thereof may regulate the placement, construction, and modification of personal wireless service facilities on the basis of the environmental effects of radio frequency emissions. That's still...
Still, that's alive, and so they're using that act, which has been very active, putting up cell towers all around the country. They're trying to use that act to put up smart meter towers in Worcester.
I see.
And that's what we are fighting that tooth and nail, and that's what's holding up the pilot program in Worcester. Is that that act does not apply to data.
So is that in the courts now, or where is it held up?
Thrilling. It was it was like Christmas for me. At a zoning board meeting, the Worcester Planning Department has an interim director, and she said, we need an actual legal opinion on whether this act. They've already approved 3 towers under that act, and she said, no, we need an actual legal opinion as to whether that act applies. There's been no opinion yet, but it doesn't apply. And it was thrilling that, I do not have bottomless pockets, so going to court would have been a full-time fundraising job. And we can stop it in the zoning board. And the whole grid community has been watching what's going on with, this was a balloon that they sent up, and thrilled that is not applying to, hopefully, to these towers that could go up 70 feet from anybody's house.
They can put them anywhere in the, they'd have to get some kind, there has to be some kind of rationale.
They would have to have the property, and the Worcester zoning board in May said we have to approve. That's a quote. We have to approve the tower, and that we can only consider gaps in coverage. Another quote. Well, not true. Not true. And luckily, this guy's gone. He's gone off to Illinois. But it's not true. That's not even what the act says. And they railroaded those 3 towers in residential neighborhoods, and with 5 antennas on them.
Do they look like regular cell towers?
Yeah,
Or
they look and pretty much act like regular cell towers, except there's nothing personal about it. It's corporate, and there's no real end user. It's bad news. So it's great.
So, as a grassroots organization, how have you been able to fight the machine? Have you received any financial assistance from donors to?
I heard you were going to give me $20. No.
Quite possibly.
I got to tell you, I've spent every dime I have. And we made these signs. We raised $700, and other than that, we're pretty much self-funding.
Wow.
It's, you know, it's terrible. You know, I don't know how people do fundraising. You know, I just, but you know, no. So, yeah, if anybody's really good at that, call me.
On your website, is there a place that people can go?
There is. Nobody does.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's right on the back there.
All right.
I mean, we've gotten, you know, we've probably gotten, I don't know, $150 or something, but you know, I just spent $120 on copies. the other
Right.
day. This book cost $3.90 to print, you know, and so yeah, that is an issue, but.
Well, it sounds like
We'll
you're
get
fighting
there.
a worthy cause.
I know we are, and I know we can win, and it's guys like you that are willing to bring this in front and spend, you know, your whole show, which, you know, kudos for that.
You ought to be commended. You really are. That's, you know,
As I told the legislature, I testified in front of the legislature, and this is my Grinch. I have I have a 4-year-old and 2-year-old grandchildren. I want them to live in the America my father fought in the Battle of the Bulge for.
Isn't that the story of so many things today? Just about everything that's going on. People who are logical and reasonable and who want to live as American citizens want it the way it was intended to be. And you know, this is just another wrinkle, another little way, a big way actually, of controlling the population. Knowing exactly what they're doing. It's big government, no matter how you look at it, and it's sad. I'm glad that you're fighting it. I'm willing to do anything that I can to bring the word. And I'm sure, you know, when you said that, well, people the first time hear about it and they just poo-poo it and they say, no, you know, oh, big deal. It's just another little wrinkle in what's going on. It's so easy for people to just accept and be lazy about questioning not only the meters. I mean, there are just so many things. It's, you know, what we are as individuals, our privacy is so critical. I mean, I just, you know, do you want to be a little stooge? Do you want to be a little robot? And everything I see, everything that's going on, I mean, the stuff they talk about in the government, this is another part of it.
But this is real.
This is very real,
This is
yeah.
imminent. This is on your house.
Yeah.
And this is a huge paradigm alterer. This is it. We're about to cross the threshold between voluntary and mandatory in your house.
Yep.
Everything else up till this is voluntary, and you can choose not to have everything that would spy on you. Everything is voluntary.
Yeah.
This is attached to your house and mandatory. And they do have, just on the aside about that, they do have the opt-out, which is a paper tiger. I always want to say lion.
Can I ask one more question
Sure.
about the opt-out? So as the pilot program has been rolled out in Worcester, and you explained that there was that payment protection, so it wouldn't cost anyone anymore, the people that determined as it's being rolled out, as it is in the process of being rolled out in Worcester, have they put the meters on homes already? And people that decided to opt out, how was that handled under the payment protection?
Or were they even notified?
Well, we did a survey because nobody knew that they had. We found anecdotally that nobody knew they had them, and we wanted some empirical. So we made up a survey. We went into this one, you know, lovely neighborhood with all the cul-de-sacs and everything, like a development, and lo and behold, 87% of the people did not know that they had a smart meter.
So they were never notified.
And of those 87% of the people that had one, 0 knew that they were in a pilot program. Yet, there was budgeted for, now this was in July, the pilot program was they were supposed to flip the switch January 1st. $1.8 million was supposed to be spent on pre-pilot customer engagement and education. I don't know where that money went, but I wish I had been invited to those parties. So people, they call it an opt-out. So they throw an envelope stuffer in. They have a number this big and say, if you want to opt out, call this number. Well, you don't even know what you'd opt out of.
Right.
So nobody did. And so they installed these they installed the first 5,000 donated meters, and then later they installed the other 10,000 meters, and people had no idea. So technically they could have opted out, but they didn't know enough.
Right.
They didn't know. They didn't know. I mean, they didn't
just
know.
didn't understand. Wait, you donated meters from the companies who made them? Why would they do that?
Why indeed?
Because there's money to be made
Money
down the
to be
road.
made down the road.
Don't
Okay.
know what that deal was, but 5,000 donated meters,
Yeah.
provided by, not, that's the term
Okay,
that they use.
provided by.
In exchange for in exchange for testing
Hmm.
information.
Also, the information that they are able to gather on your household with regard to your usage and the particular appliances that you use is creating a profile. I wonder what they do with that info. If they're bound to maintain that information, or like so many other big companies, can they sell it? That's another source of income.
I don't think that's even been addressed in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling you in California, they turned on all that information to the government agencies without warrants. I have a graph on the website, haltmasmartmeters.org, that shows, now this is just the 15-minute increments, and so, you know, it's just a graph, like a column graph, and I have one day of this, it's a family, and she had to get this under the Freedom of Information Act. So it's her family's one day, you know, midnight to midnight, then like a day later, midnight to midnight, and I superimposed them, and I realized that when when nobody was using anything, the baseline was different. So I called, of course, because I can't leave these things unanswered. Turns out that her security system was engaged at one level, and her security, because she just ran out for like a few hours, and the other one she was gone for the day. So I'm like, oh.
So they actually know when her security system's on.
Yeah.
They know when you're home and when you're not.
So
They know when you get home,
They when you get home. Yeah.
and when your kids get home from school.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Before we wrap up, I just want to take the opportunity to say, Claire, your spirit, the spirit that you embody in your civic activism, that's what this show is really all about, and that's why we created this show, because the five of us
Exactly.
gentlemen
Yep.
that worked to create the show, you know, this is how we feel about so many of the issues, and we were tired of sitting on the sidelines, and we wanted to do something. And you know, this is my first time meeting you, but it's nice to know that there are kindred spirits out there that have decided to take the bull by the horns and get involved, and
It's now or never.
I'm with you. Thanks for fighting the fight.
Well, thanks for having me, and I wanted to thank Larry. He bought me dinner, and vote for Larry.
well, thank
We
you.
definitely
Thank you.
will. He's a good guy. We
Well, you
miss
guys have
him.
been great.
Thank you
very
for
much.
joining us. And once again, don't forget to check out our Facebook page, facebook.com, Burlington and beyond. And
Also, program we're doing Tuesday is going to be live, or
Why not?
I think so. Yeah. So
we'll
look
be on
for
again next week.
next Tuesday. Yeah.
Thank you again for joining us, and thank you, Claire, very much for coming on, and
Thank you.
a lot of great information. Thank you, and hope to have you on again sometime.
Anytime.
So
Thanks
it's
again.
been great, and
I did remember that it was live. That's when I really floundered there for a minute, and then I forgot again, so I was good.
You did very, very well. I think we got the point across very well.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
God, I didn't